All right, we're here at New Jersey Hall of Fame at American Dream in East Rutherford, right next to MetLife Stadium. We're in this gorgeous museum, which I'm going to talk to this guy about shortly. We have in the studio right now one of the greatest legends of all from New Jersey. I have to pinch myself every time I'm with him in person. 3-time Grammy nominee. Billboard 100 Greatest Entertainers of All Time. 3 gold albums, 2 platinum albums, 63 years. This is almost incomprehensible. 63 years in the entertainment business. I think very few, other than George Burns, very few people have been in this business. The longevity and the energy you still have. He is also the host of Saturday Nights with Tony Orlando on WABC. It is a real pleasure to have one of the greatest legends from this state, Tony Orlando.
Thank you. What an honor it is to be with you, Steve. Thank you for that intro. I really appreciate it. And I'm humbled by being in this museum, really.
Yeah. Edison, Einstein, in Orlando. That sounds like one messed up law firm.
I don't know if we should compliment
That sounds like a confused law firm.
My mother wouldn't believe it, but you heard that right, Mom?
Yeah.
But it's amazing. Even when I walked into this museum, Steve.
Yeah.
Now, many of these people I know well. So you were there the night you were there inducting me into the Hall of Fame, and you saw how close Bruce and I got that night.
He sang Halfway to Paradise. He serenaded you
singing my
with your
first
first hit song.
I was humbled by that.
Yeah.
And then I started looking, I thought, Sinatra, Bennett, Whitney Houston, and I know Einstein and Edison, but they're Einstein and Edison's in their own world as
That's
well.
right.
And they've lit up the world with their music like Einstein lit up the world and Edison lit up the world. Einstein changed the world. A lot of these people in here have done that. You know, I think of changing people across not only our own country, but if you go to the smallest continent or the smallest country, they know Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
The little tiny. Then you go and say Whitney Houston, what she's done, and her passing, what it did to people, how sad the world was to lose this young, vibrant, beautiful woman. They're alive here and well in this museum.
Yeah. Thank you.
They're treated with such dignity and respect. And I got to tell you, in a word, one word, the only word that comes to mind by being in this museum is humbled.
Yeah.
I'm humbled by it, really.
You're a humbled guy anyway. Your brilliance, I'm convinced, why you've lasted 63 years and resonate. 12,000 people coming to see you perform at PNC Arts Center on Thursday. You're both humble and you've got gratitude, profound gratitude in your heart. We're going to get to why that is, and I know it comes from Rhonda, your sister, and your upbringing in New Jersey. But getting back to Jersey and the greatness, it is amazing when you think about how much the state has exported in a way.
What state could do more? Yeah. Think of how eclectic this is. I mean, we're not talking about one little category here. I mean, forgive me. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is tremendous. It's unbelievable. It's famous. But it doesn't have Edison and Einstein.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't have some of the people that, walked on the moon or had #1 record. It's this eclecticism that you have a Model T Ford in this museum, for example.
Isn't that amazing?
So you walk in, if anybody has never been here, you walk in and you see the awards. Bam, they hit you. They're beautiful, mounted beautifully, lit beautifully. Then you see the pictures of all the people. Then you look to your left and you see this incredible automobile. And you go, what is this automobile doing? This is what I went through. What is this What is this? It's a Model T Ford. Then you read on. Wait, tell the people at home what I was like Googling over.
It's the Model T, the exact one that Henry Ford gifted to Thomas Edison, I think in 1933. But what's amazing about it, the insurance value is millions of dollars. what's amazing about it is Ford and Edison, and I believe Firestone, sat in that exact car and took road trips together back in the 1920s, 1930s. So I appreciate you referencing it.
So my point is Edison and Einstein were the original Jersey boys,
That's right.
okay? And they're rocking and rolling in a Model T Ford. And then if you had a time machine, you go to the future. You go to the person who's given you. Tell me about the guy who went to
Buzz Aldrin?
Not only Buzz, but Beautiful Desolation. Buzz Aldrin, by the way. Have you ever read that book? It's amazing.
Yeah.
His story. But how about Kelly?
The Kelly brothers.
And he
Mark
gives
Scott.
you that machine where you feel like you're actually taking off. This
right.
place is so eclectic. You can't find that in too many museums, though, Steve. And I'm not just saying that because, like, I've had the privilege to be in it now. But when I walked in here, I was in awe of what is part of this state that I was privileged to live most of my life in, most of my young life. And I moved here when I was 11. I went through my days with Halfway to Paradise and Carole King and Jerry Goffin. I remember when Carole came to my house on 29th Street in Union City and had dinner with us. Yeah. Who didn't know? We didn't know that Carole was going to become.
Go back. This is a good place to start because I'm always interested in knowing, and I know a lot of people are, how someone becomes a legend, how someone reaches the pinnacle. And it's not just entertainment. We have scientists coming through. At Harlan Coben sat there, and then I ask a lot of the same questions. And I do think, without question, it starts in someone's childhood. Tell us about you. You were in Union City. I know you moved to, at some point, Hasbrook Heights in North Bergen. But tell us about your childhood, and if there was a defining moment that helped you to become Tony Orlando.
I could tell you right away. I remember I was about 9 years old, and I came out of a movie theater, and at that time I was living in Chelsea. So I didn't move here until I was 11 and a half years old. So I'm 9 years old. RKO movie theaters on 23rd Street and 8th Avenue. By the way, another historical theater, one of the first theaters to open.
Is that by the Chelsea Hotel?
Yeah,
I
right by
know
the
it.
Chelsea
Yeah,
Hotel.
I know that theater.
I came out after seeing a movie called Singing in the Rain with Gene Kelly. It moved me so much to see this guy twirling around on a lamppost, getting soaked and wet, singing this captivating song. I'm singing in the rain, just singing in the rain. What a glorious feeling, I'm happy again. And I'm sitting watching this guy, and he's stomping on puddles, and he's stomping. Well, I remember walking out of that theater. It happened to be raining, pouring rain, and I didn't care. And I walked out, and I started kicking the puddles on my way back to 21st Street, to the 7th and 8th.
That's a defining
And I'm
moment.
I'm singing in the rain, and people are looking at me. He's getting soaked. I don't care.
So your spirit, you
Right.
awakened your spirit
Right then and there.
in that moment.
And guess what happens? I get a call from a friend of my dad's, Jilly Rizzo. Jilly Rizzo happened to be
Sinatra?
Frank Sinatra's best friend.
Yeah.
And
Jilly's. They own
Jilly's
the
restaurant. And he says, how would you like your son to come to the Friars Club to meet Frank Sinatra? We're honoring, guess who? Gene Kelly.
Oh, wow.
Had I met Frank Sinatra yet?
Wait, now how did Jilly Rizzo know to call you?
My father made Jilly Rizzo and all of his friends, their wives and girlfriends, mink coats.
Mink coat.
He was a furrier.
This is Papito or that
No,
was your
this is my
grandpa?
father, Leo.
Your father Leo, okay.
And my father, Leo, made Hot Tin Roof with Elizabeth Taylor. The stole she wore was made by my father. Wow. He was a premier fur coat maker, Stone and Stone furs in the Garment Center. So
You backed into everything in your life, didn't you?
I'm glad you said that, because backing into everything is the key. You want to know the answer to it is, all you got to do is show up, because eventually you'll back into it.
Yeah.
If you show up and you think you're in for one thing, like I was in for one thing, and I backed into another. So I go to the Friars Club. And I want everybody at home to understand, I never met Sinatra. I'm going to meet him. I never met Gene Kelly.
How old are
That's
you?
when the light bulb
11?
went off. No, at this time I was working for Clive, so I was in my 20s.
Oh, okay. You got it.
But I was only 9 when I saw the movie
Right.
Sing in the Rain. Now I'm about to meet Gene Kelly in person, and I'm going to be introduced to Frank Sinatra, who's going to introduce me to Gene Kelly, and I never met either one of them.
That's crazy.
Because of Jilly. So I'm in the green room of the Friars Club, and there is Frank Sinatra, the man that is on that wall here at your museum. And he's lining up the people to come up on the dais so that they will sit at their proper seat, properly and directed. And he's directing the traffic. And he's in front of this microphone, Frank is. And I'm standing off to the side with Jilly, and I see the Frank Sinatra go like this. Jerry Lewis, I want you to no, Liz Taylor, stand in front of Jerry Lewis. Dean, will you, I know you're not talking to Jerry, okay, just stand next to him for now. Cagney, will you sit? He's Mr. Peck, Gregory Peck, Marlon Brando, would you stand behind him?
This is like a dream team.
Lucille Ball, would you stand behind him, please? Now I am seeing every mega movie star you ever saw in your life being lined up, and I'm watching this take place, and Sinatra is the chairman of the board, so rightly called, and he's making everybody stand in line, and he finally goes, Tony Orlando, follow me.
Wow.
Which puts me in front of Liz Taylor, Gregory Peck, James Cagney, Marlon Brando.
They didn't have video cameras back then, huh?
No,
to capture
no.
this.
So, and who's right behind me? Gene Kelly. And who's right in front of me? Frank Sinatra. As we get to the dais, I start walking behind him, like whispering, Mr. Sinatra, why are you doing this? Shut up. I'll tell you when we're done. Just listen to me. We get to the dais. It's a double dais, double-decker. He says, hey, Telly Savalas, take Tony's sign that he's supposed to sit at and move it right behind me.
Yeah.
You sit where he's to sit. And he's going to sit right next to Gene Kelly. Not knowing, I swear to you, that at 9 years old, I walked out of that theater dreaming to be in show business because of Gene Kelly. Now I've got Gene Kelly to my left, and I've got Frank Sinatra in front of me. I am sitting, watching this happen. This thing is over. I said, Mr. Sinatra, this was unbelievable. But can I meet Mr. Kelly? And I walk up to Gene Kelly. I said, Mr. Kelly, when I was 9 years old, because of that movie, the light bulb went off. I wanted to be in show business because of you. Thank you so much. And by the way, that day it was pouring rain. I was the only kid in the neighborhood with one wet left foot. So he immediately puts his arms around me and he hugs me. And Frank says, Tony, now ask me why I did this for you. I said, I was wondering, I couldn't understand why you did this. He said, it's not because I'm friends with Jilly and Jilly knows your dad. Now you have Candida, Knocked 3 Times Out. You have Yellow Ribbon out right now. Big hits, right? He said, who's the host tonight? I said, you are, sir. Who is sitting directly behind me? I said, I am, sir. Where are everybody's eyes? I said, on you, sir. If you're sitting directly behind me, who is in view? I said, I am, sir. He said, who is the new kid on show business? I said, I am, sir. He said, well, welcome to show business. That's how we treat the new kid on the block.
Wow. That's
moment in time, I backed into.
Yeah.
I didn't go there. I wasn't
But
invited.
but
I wasn't invited.
I'm
I
gonna-
just happened to be in the right place
I'm
at the
going
right
to challenge
time.
you on that, though. This is how you start a movie, by the way, with Sinatra lining people up, and you go to the front, and you're saying, this is how you start. Your movie should start with that moment, because I understand the backing up about the mink jackets. You know, sometimes you got to get lucky like that, but you do have to show up. And if I was going to start a movie about Tony Orlando, I think I'd start with that moment, and then I would back up to 9-year-old Tony seeing the movie.
Right.
And then what happens after, though? That's
Then I go
what
to the rooftop. After
9
I see that movie,
Yeah.
I end up on a rooftop in a doo-wop group called the Five Jets. And all of New York City became my audience. And every single fire escape became my box seat. And I imagined that that was my theater. And I'd be on that rooftop singing with the Five Jets. And we'd be singing in the still of the night. Shoo-doo, shoo-be-doo. And I was on that stage, man. And I'd find that little platform for me, and I would sing.
You know what you're reminding people of? And I heard, you know David Geffen, the music
No, it's a friend, a very good friend.
mogul. He once said that his view is that every man invents himself, for better or worse, that we're all figments of our imagination.
Absolutely
It's
right.
just that some people are better at imagining
Yeah, well, that's true.
than others. But
don't
it's
remember
your-
something. David backed in too.
David-
David worked in the mailroom.
That's right. But he didn't, and you didn't either, in the sense that you did what you loved. You went to something that you loved. In your case, you saw this movie. Thank God Gene Kelly made the movie to influence you, to imbue
Yeah.
your spirit. But then you did something that anyone who's just existing in life, most people exist, they don't live, okay? You tapped into your imagination. I always say it's a 1-2 punch in life, mindset and a to-do list. If you keep coming back to a positive mindset and following your dreams and having that never give up attitude, then it's just about strategically figuring out what are the 5, 10, 20 things I got to do today, tomorrow, and you take it one day at a time. But you did something about it after you were influenced. You got up on that roof and you started to imagine. And after a while, I imagine you became a great singer doing it.
Well, imagination is my formal education. My imagination was my main classroom. My teacher was my imagination,
Yeah.
Mr. Imagination. And he lives within me. He lives within all of us. And when you enter that schoolroom, you're all by yourself. And your teacher is Mr. Imagination. And that's God-given. And all you really got to do is touch upon those gifts that God gives you.
Yeah.
And imagine using those gifts. So for me, I always imagined myself. I never thought of myself never not being in show business. I never thought of myself not being in all parts of show business, and that includes being the guy that pulls the curtain. I'd have been very happy if that's what it ended up me doing, that I would pull the curtain on Broadway and it would come down and they'd say, show is over, that's a wrap. And I was part of that.
And that started right after the Gene Kelly Singing in the Rain movie, that you came to that realization, this is what I want to do.
Yeah,
Singing lessons when you were a kid?
no.
No?
The only singing lessons I ever got was from the Dovels, the Dells, the Spaniels, the Heartbeats, all the doo-wop groups of the 50s. That was my teacher performing-wise was Bobby Darin. He was my...
When did he become a mentor?
Bobby?
Bobby, yeah.
Bobby became my mentor the first time I ever saw him work. But when I was 16 years old, he was managed and co-wrote his song Splish Splash with Don Kirshner, who was the guru who discovered Neil Sedaka and just about
Jersey guy.
everybody. Carole King, myself. All of us started with Donnie. So I met Bobby when I was 16. And I used to go see him work at the Copa. And I never saw an entertainer like that in my life. And by the way, not ever since. And I remember when I became very close friends with Sammy Davis, who was always pound for pound considered the greatest entertainer in the world, I said, Sammy, who would you not follow? And I didn't know what he was going to say. And he said, Bobby Darin. Because Bobby Darin could do it all and do it all well.
Yeah.
And so he was a mentor teacher that took my imagination schoolroom to the reality schoolroom.
How old were you when you met Bobby?
15.
50. So this is right before Halfway to
Right
Paradise?
before Halfway to Paradise.
Tell us that story. I want. There's so much to cover. There's so
about-
much ground with you. I want to talk to you about
About how I
things.
got to halfway?
Yes. Because let me put it in perspective. So you see a film, you start singing on the rooftop, you start singing, I guess, for 4 or 5 years until you were singing with a doo-wop band, was it?
My doo-wop group was called the Five Gens. I started singing on that rooftop when I was about 12. 221 West 21st Street rooftop.
Union City.
No, that was before I moved to Union City. Oh, well, I moved to Union City at 12, so I was 10, 11 years old.
Okay.
When I moved to Union City, is when I was with Don Kirshner at 1650 Broadway. That's when I met Bobby.
I
So I was
see.
15 and a half years old, 16 years old.
Got it.
So Bobby became rather this imaginary person that I created in my mind on that rooftop. He was a real star working in front of me, and I'm learning from firsthand. And he would take me up to his hotel room. Like he would stay at the St. Moritz Hotel on Central Park South. Or Central Park South. And he would sit with me and talk about moves, show business, timing. And then I would go see him at the Copa, and he would wink at me when he would say, before the show, watch this move. And I'd watch him, and he would wink at me. Now remember, the Copacabana was a very familiar room to me. I might be going out to forgive me for the viewers on this podcast because I'm jumping around a lot. But the truth is, that's the way it happened. There was a lot of jumping around.
Yeah.
So when I think about meeting Bobby and watching him work at the Copa, Bobby didn't realize that I had even seen him as a young, littler kid, 9 and 10 years old, because my uncle Carmine Fava was the maitre d' of the Copacabana. So in your little movie, imagine that 9-year-old coming out of that theater now being taken to the Copacabana by his Uncle Carmine, who takes him next to Doug.
I'm not fawning, but how is there not
Watch
a
this,
frickin'
Stevie.
movie
Watch
about
this.
your life?
Watch this. Watch this. So not like the Copa sat 240 people. It was tiny, but it was bigger than life. The success of it, right? At the Copa, that Copa. My Uncle Carmine was this tall Italian, beautiful man who was the maitre d', who got young Michael Anthony Orlando Casavetes to sit behind Doug Harvey's, Doug was the sound light man of a 250-seat room, and he would keep me hidden underneath so no one would see that an illegal was in this club by the name of Tony Orlando. And every time an entertainer would come up, he'd pick me up in the dark, and I'd watch Nat King Cole, Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra. I'd watch these guys work. And now I'm almost 16, and the guy who's on that stage is saying, watch my moves, watch me work. I'm now working as a friend with the guy who's working on that stage. I'm backing into it again, Stevie. I'm backing into it again.
I
just have to show
I
up.
understand about exactly. That's the point. Is it's not backing in. Hopefully happens.
But you have to show up to
It's
back in.
showing up. But there was something you were following the same formula that Edison and Einstein and Springsteen and everyone that's in this museum followed. This is my point. It started with a dream.
Always.
After seeing
I'm
the
in a
film.
building that's a dream.
Right. Started with a dream, and then there was a mindset. I got to be in that industry. I got to figure this out. So you started showing up to the right places. You had the connections with your grandfather, with your,
He never introduced me to anybody.
Yeah, but your family connections helped. But you knew.
No,
what
there was no
direction-
connection to any of these people.
Indirectly, it was one or two removed. The point is,
Well, maybe psychologically, but remember,
You showed up to the Copa,
I
though.
showed up. No, even before the show, Steve, even before the show, I would go to the top floor of the Bill Building with my guitar.
Yeah.
And work my way down every floor. And if it said record company, I'd knock on the door and audition.
Yeah, you worked.
And I'd
for us.
walk all the way down. Then I go to 1650 Broadway across the street. And I start at the top floor. And finally, I knocked on Donnie Kirshner's door. It was just knocking on a door. Knocking on heaven's door. I was knocking on heaven's door. Hopefully, someone would say, hey, kid, I'm going to sign you. And Donnie Kirshner did. My connections with my Uncle Carmine, he didn't get me one gig. He didn't bring me for one audition. Right. He didn't introduce me to one person ever, other than allow me to, as a schoolroom, watch these
That's what I
unbelievable
mean.
entertainers.
I hope people that are watching this, listening to this, understand that it's fine having a dream and imagining yourself at, whatever genre you're imagining, but you do have to take the next step and show up. You need some good strategy. In your case, it was looking at these performers, and then it was getting a Bobby Darin to be a mentor. I mean, that's ridiculous. But you can control your life by dreaming first and then strategizing and showing up.
Dream first, but dreams don't happen without hard work.
Right.
You can dream your life away,
Yeah.
but if you don't add the hard work with it, dreams don't come true.
So Halfway to Paradise is your first hit song, right?
So not only my first hit song, it was Carole King's first hit song as a writer. Think about that for a moment. The Carole King's first hit as a songwriter. Tony's first hit as an artist. Her and her husband lived on Brown Street in Brooklyn. I had the privilege of being there when they wrote An Actual Woman. I had the privilege of being there when they wrote Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow. I had the privilege of Carole King playing the piano and teaching me the phrasing on Halfway to Paradise. I had the privilege of watching Jerry Goff and her husband take a piano key and lift it with frustration and tearing it off and it hits the ceiling because he couldn't come up with a line, and You Make Me Feel Like an Actual Woman. And when he did, he came back with a look of joy on his face and said, I got it, Carol, I got it. Here's the line. I took my soul to the lost and found, and you came by and claimed it. I was there the day that he wrote that unbelievable line in a song that a man wrote about a woman feeling natural. Wow. How did that happen? I showed up. I just happened to show up.
Did you understand when it was happening, though?
No.
And your stardom started to take off.
Stevie, listen to your friend Tony.
Young.
I didn't know any of this happened, and I still don't believe it. It's all retrospective.
Yeah.
I look back at my life and I go, I did that? Wait a minute. I had 5 #1 records? Wait a second. I had a network television show and it was only 3 channels before anybody, 36 million people watched me? Wait a minute, my first guest was Jackie Gleason? Wait a second, I went on Broadway and walked a tightrope? Hold it a minute. What? You don't realize while you're doing it because you're so focused on working, You're so focused, on doing it, like those guys that are working on your show right now.
Yeah.
They don't have any idea what they're doing right now. They'll look back on this someday when they get their $1 million. I remember when I was sitting there watching a podcast that I had to sit through.
I blew that, man.
And now look at me, I'm producing the movie that won the Academy Award. That's what's going to happen to those 2 kids. But they're going to look back on it someday like I look back retrospectively on mine. Look, Steve, there is no definition to this kind of success. The only definition I can come up with is thank you, Lord. I really believe God's blessed me. No kid with an 8th grade education should have been able to taste the food of 30 different countries. No young kid from New York and New Jersey, from North Bergen, Union City, New Jersey,
Well, let's follow
end up working for 9 presidents. It shouldn't happen.
Let's follow this trajectory because so much happened.
You can't define a miracle.
But it's so much happened that we got to break it down. So, Halfway to Paradise is a big hit. All of a sudden, you're known nationally, I guess, around the world as well, right? It was a hit.
It was #1 in England.
That's a heady experience for a young kid. And then the Beatles hit.
Yeah.
And then that sort of took your momentum away. And then you got to talk about what happens next because this is all part of the movie. It's incomprehensible.
There's so much to this movie that it's almost frustrating for you watching this podcast for me to try to explain it to you. But listen to me, guys. I'm 81 years old. A lot's happened in 81 years. 64 of those years, of my 81 years, I've had hit records. 54 of those years, I've headlined in Las Vegas. When you start to walk backwards, and that's what you're asking me to do, I'm going to go walking backwards to the day I had my first hit record. All you know is that you're doing the job. You don't go, oh my God, I got a hit record. You don't go, oh, no. You just, each day you get up and you walk out, you perform. Again, I never had like, I'm 16, wow, when I got a #1 record in England. And even when the Beatles came, I had 2 hit records, Halfway to Paradise and Bless You. Both those songs, forgive me for, I have to say this, were written by Carole King, Jerry Goff, and Halfway to Paradise, Barry Mann and Cynthia Weil, who are also in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and Academy Award winner songwriters. That was their first hit record. So 4 of the most iconic songwriters ever in rock and roll history, their first hit records were done with an artist named 16-year-old Tony Orlando. Okay, we have been friends, close friends, ever since. But we think of it as being graduates from some sort of high school together, the 4 of us. We don't think of it as being famous, or we just think of it, we did good as kids, we graduated. When the Beatles came, I was already married. I adopted a son from my first marriage. All I knew was there was no work. I have to find a job to support my family. God bless the guru giant of Clive Davis, who says to me, you're not working, huh, Tony? I signed you when you came with your mother because you were underage. Remember me? I was the 5th lawyer on the totem pole when I was at Columbia Records and you came to do Halfway to Paradise. Well, now I'm the Clive Davis. Come with me. I want you to run my music division. I said, Clive, I wouldn't even know where to start. I don't know how to open a file cabinet. I don't know how to write a business letter. I never went to high school. What are you talking about, becoming the head of CBS Music? And he looked at me and he says, you see those 2 things on the side of your head? I said, yeah. He goes, that's why you're going to be a great vice president of my company.
Because you can
hear
what good music
I
is.
could hear a hit record.
And that, by the way, that is why he became brilliant at his craft. He always knew how to pick out
He had a pair too.
hit song.
He had a pair of
So
golden
that's
ears.
what he was attracted. Your energy, for sure. He wanted that energy around you, your gratitude, your humility, your passion for music. But it was because you could hear the music.
That was his opinion. I didn't see that in myself.
see.
He saw it in me.
Well.
I was just worried about how am I going to be embarrassed when I walk over to the cal, which happened to me, and I don't know that I have to press that little button to open up the file cabinet because I've never opened one before. How stupid am I going to look in front of these people? I'm the boss and I don't know how to open a file cabinet. But he believed that my ears made the difference. So what happens? I sign with him. I'm sitting behind this big desk. I'm now vice president of CBS Music at 23 years old, and the Beatles made me get there without realizing it because they came in and took over America. And I'm thinking, how am I going to make a living? Clive Davis was listening to somebody way above his head. Trust me.
What is it that, obviously his ability to pick hit songs, but he must be a very charismatic guy and a very... What is it about Clive that made him...
About him?
Yeah, about a giant.
Oh, he was like what they must have seen in Aaron Judge in the minor leagues. I mean, he was like, his was a lawyer,
Right.
an attorney that had no band, didn't sing, didn't come from a music background, but he heard music and he understood lyrics. And in fact, Clive always used to say, I will not listen to a songwriter's song if he doesn't give me the lyric first. He always felt the lyric was the key to a hit song.
Yeah.
And he's right. He's right.
But there's something beyond the lyric. It's
That
catch,
lyric
is it
is
catch on? Is
that
it,
lyric has to be there. For instance, you take Old Man River, that old man, Rodgers and Hammerstein. Yeah. So Mrs. Hammerstein is going on the red carpet, opening on Broadway with that song. And the press goes, Mrs. Hammerstein, what's it like for your husband to be able, Mr. Rogers, Mrs. Rogers, what's it like for your husband to be riding with the great Oscar Hammerstein? She said, my boy, if it wasn't for my husband, the song would go something like this. Da, 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 da.
That's good.
Right?
That's
Right?
good. Yeah.
And that was Clive.
Yeah.
Clive was able to understand that the lyric
Yeah.
was the leader of the band, the leader of the song.
So that, and he knew how to read a contract. And
So
knew how
he
to
knew.
write a contract.
So he
how to
knew
negotiate.
words. He knew words. He knew the importance of words. The importance of words. So that was the first step to make Clive Davis Clive Davis. And then he had an innate love of rhythm and blues. And rhythm and blues is the cornerstone of rock and roll and popular music.
Yeah.
And he had an understanding and a love for blues, jazz,
Very
rhythm and blues.
passionate about his music.
So
yeah.
when he's heard Whitney Houston,
Yeah.
and when he heard the kind of music she was singing to, and he looked at those regular, I believe the children are our future.
Yeah.
It didn't take long for Clive to say, there's your song, Whitney. And so I am now sitting with Clive, and I'm 23, and I'm paying the rent, and I'm vice president of CBS, and the heck with the Beatles. Look at me. I'm VP. I'm doing fine. And it got me through the period where my dream got broken up with a little bit.
But this is remarkable part of the story.
Am I all
His
over the
story-
place?
It's
I am.
okay.
I'm so
no,
sorry.
it's okay. I'm following. I'm trying to keep up with you. It's incredible. We're going to have to edit this because I'm hearing so much noises, getting distracted. Can we shut the doors? No? Okay. So much for that idea. You're not just a music exec. You signed Barry Manilow?
Yeah. I represent James Taylor, signed Barry Manilow, Randy Edelman, who wrote Weekend in November, Weekend in New England, probably one of the most eclectic music score writers now.
Yeah.
Represented Blood, Sweat, and Tears, represented Laura Nero. Those were my writers, those were my artists. Got Barry signed,
Wait
produced
a
his
minute.
first records.
Laura Nero was your artist?
She was our songwriter, my writer.
What? This was when? 60s?
She was 68.
So where was Geffen in her life?
Her manager.
He was her manager. So you dealt with David Geffen.
Oh, I've known David Geffen since he worked
What
in
was he-
the.
what
I've
was-
known David Geffen since he worked in the mailroom.
What was he like back then in the 60s?
The same David Geffen you see today.
So he was always, he figured it out.
Forget it. There was nobody like him. He's like you.
Yeah.
He knows exactly what he wants, and he goes for it. And he's David Geffen is like a knife that's just been sharpened. You take a piece of paper and you go like this.
People don't know him.
David
the
Geffen-
layman does. But if you're in the industry.
DreamWorks. He created DreamWorks.
with Spielberg and Katzenberg, and he discovered Nirvana and Aerosmith.
Oh,
and
yeah, yeah.
He was there in the
And
heyday.
I went on his label too. When I left Bell Records as Tony Orlando and Dawn, I went with David Geffen at Elektra Records.
Yeah.
He was president, CEO of Elektra Records. I've known David forever. And here's the interesting thing about David. David was fine with being in the mailroom. And there was a guy named Norman Brokaw who became CEO of William Morris.
I know this story. He said, forget about chasing all the old timers. Go chase the Stones and people that, the
But
younger
David
people.
always said to me about Norman, he eats, sleeps, and shits William Morris. And he said, that's what you have to do in this business, Tony.
Yeah.
You have to eat, sleep, and shit this business.
Yeah.
And be loyal to it and accept its ups and downs. And then he said something to me that really made a difference for me. And I passed this on to Barry, and I passed this on to every act I was representing in those days. He said, Tony, what's great about the mailroom?
You read other people's mail upside down, which he did.
And this is a business in which 99% of it is turning down, getting turned down.
Is what?
Getting turned down. Only 1% is a victory.
Well,
90, you better get used to being turned down. So when you're in the mailroom, what you see is people being turned down every single day and fighting through it.
so that hardened him.
That made him realize
Realistic.
that 99% was normal.
That's right.
Being turned down and failing was normal. And you guys behind the desk, remember this. 99% of what you're going to see in front of you, and you young people out there watching, is normal. Failure is the key to success. Failure is a learning curve. Failure is when you learn your craft. Failure is when you strike out, because if you only hit 3 hits out of 10 times at the plate, you're Aaron Judge.
Yeah.
3 times out of 10 times, you're a champion. You can miss 7 times and still be a champion. That's what those guys taught me, is failure is the true meaning of success, because everything I ever failed at taught me how to win.
Yeah. I love that, man. That's inspirational. That's going to be some of the best advice you're going to be able to give to a young person. Or
I hope so, because
any
that's what I
age
got from
that-
Geffen.
Yeah.
And you know David Geffen's life, because you've studied people's life. That's you. And his life, Steve, is something to behold, because he went from creating some of the greatest record companies, understanding how to market these great acts that he signed. Look him up on Wikipedia. Go to David Geffen. Just look. Him and Clive Davis, the two of them.
His story is a showing up story too, because first of all, it's a passionate. So he believed in Laura Nyro like nobody believed in her, and they started Tuna Fish Records, and
Yep.
her as beautiful as her voice was, she wasn't selling. It was her music, her lyrics that sold to the Fifth Dimension and others, and they made a lot of
That
money.
was all me. I gave those songs to the Fifth Dimension.
That's amazing.
That was my job
had
when I was
no
working.
idea, man.
Bill, I love you. So that was
Yeah,
me.
That was you.
That was my job
You
for
were the
Clive.
catalyst for that. Was the song,
You know, that's crazy.
soundtrack of my youth, man. But then
She
showed-
wrote that, by the way.
He showed
Wedding Bell
up.
Blues.
To follow your advice, he showed up in the late '60s in L.A. I think it was on Sunset. They had a club. Whatever was it, Whiskey Go? Not Whiskey Go Go, but one of those clubs. And he would show up, and it would be Jackson Brown,
Yeah,
and it
oh, yeah,
would
yeah.
be Carole King, and who else? Joni Mitchell, Crosby, Stills, and Nash. And he said, "Wait a minute, these people are all amazing talents, and nobody's representing them." And they don't trust the guys in the suits. I got the jeans on. I'm their age. I'm
Right.
their contemporary. And they need a shark to fight off the sharks that were in the music.
He was a
industry.
shark.
And
He
it
was a tough guy.
I mean, musical artists were taking
He was a
advantage.
tough guy.
Yeah, he was a tough guy.
I mean, David Geffen fought battles for artists that most managers don't
And
want
I don't mean
fight.
to turn this into a David Geffen, but
No, you have to,
you
because,
learn the
because
lessons.
those are the people. Look, think of this. Think of how blessed I was. Don Kirshner started what we now know as independent record production. Without him, it wouldn't have happened. He literally had the major record companies take a Neil Sedaka and produce that record for them, not the house A&R guy. So he was an iconic genius, signing Carole King, Barry Mann, Neil Sedaka, Paul Simon, Neil Diamond, Tony Orlando, all of the people that made it in those early 60 days. Then you got Clive Davis. He became the head of Columbia Records. Second guy in my life that comes into my life. Then you got Clive Davis bringing me in, and I meet people like David Geffen, who put me in a movie called Star is Born with Barbra Streisand,
Christmas
because that was his
Robinson.
movie.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the third big, gigantic mogul.
Bobby Darin came after
Then
that.
Bobby Darin was in there. He was
Yeah,
right
he
in there
was
with
in that
Donnie.
program.
Then you keep going. Freddie Silverman, I bump into him. How? I'm working at the Westbury Music Fair. He thinks he's coming to see Cher. Cher gets sick. Who takes Cher's place? Tony Orlando and Dawn. He comes in and goes, where the hell is Cher? Wait a minute. Who's this group on stage? Tony Orlando. Well, I like what he's doing. Hey, Tony, I liked what you just did, walking through the audience. You think you could do that on a summer television show? I said, sure. He goes, well, how would you rehearse that? I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, you're ad-libbing all the way through. How would we block that? I said, well, how do you block a football game? He said, you follow the football. I said, say hello to the football. We shook hands. As I've gone along, every major person, Steve, everyone I met became legendary icons.
Yeah.
So, can you understand when I say to you, there's a power bigger than all those guys put together that put them in my life?
Oh, I agree with that. I agree
And
with
the reason he did was because he loaned me an angel. He loaned me a little sister called Rhonda Marie Schroeder.
that. Yeah, tell us about
And my little sister was literally an angel on earth. Here's this little girl. She has an 8-month-old mentality from the moment she's born to the moment she dies. 8 months old, she dies at 21. With that that's her IQ. She can't walk, she can't talk. She can't sin, she can't hurt. She's given to my mother and I to take care of. She lives 21 years of my life. My sister was a literal angel. Never hurt anybody, never lied, never sinned, died a pure person. I took care of her. What did she teach me? There was a night when my sister would have what I call the itch cry. When I knew this agonizing cry that I knew it wasn't tired cry. I knew it wasn't hunger cry. I knew I had to find that itch. Because if I didn't find that itch, you know what would happen? She would have a seizure. And if I had that seizure, if I didn't find it, oh my God, no, I don't want her to go through it. I would scratch, find it, and she would go, oh. What did that teach me, Steve? This 8-month-old IQ. It taught me never to take for granted the ability to scratch my own itch. And because I took care of her with every single strength and nerve end in my body, God bless me, because you know why? I recognized that I was taking care of an angel.
So fair to say that so much of your humility and gratitude
It's all there.
from Rhonda?
From Rhonda, from God, because it was God who gave me Rhonda.
Right, that's right. Faith is big in my life. Now, a remarkable part of your story after
I'm getting too heavy for you, huh?
No.
This is getting a little too
I
heavy,
like
right?
that kind of stuff. I could talk.
I'm not getting any laughs from the guys at the booth. Hey, you
They
guys.
don't laugh anyway. They just sit there and give me a hard time. Remarkable part of the story is halfway to paradise.
Right.
Then you go work for Clive. You're signing people like Barry Manilow. Amazing. Who are some of the other artists that you signed?
Well, I just thought Randy Edelman is one.
But
You
there were
don't
some
know,
other
the
big
public
names.
doesn't know him. But of course, James was a very important part of James signing because
James
when-
Taylor.
James Taylor, because
Right.
when James left to go do the Beatles label, how ironic, he was the first artist to sign on Apple Records. Okay?
Who signed
I'm
of the
his
Which
publisher.
one of the Beatles signed him, or was it
The Beatles signed him.
The Beatles themselves signed him.
Signed him, yeah.
Wow.
So he was to be the first album out on Apple, not the Beatles.
Got it.
James Taylor.
Wow.
And I get the acetate or the what we used to call it a master before the record comes out, and I'm looking at all these titles, and I call Clive up. I said, Clive, Lennon and McCartney Music do not publish these songs. He said, what do you mean? I said, we publish these songs. He goes, you're kidding me. I said, no. He said, well,
You're in
he
the
said,
middle.
get on a plane and go tell Apple Records that we publish these songs. So I get on a plane and I fly to London and I walk into Apple Records and I see George Harrison George is getting suited up for a suit, and he sees me and he knew me and he looked up and he goes, what are you doing here? And I said, George, I got bad news for you guys. He goes, what? I go, you don't publish James Taylor. He goes, what? I said, no. I said, before they put this album out, I said, it's April Blackwood Music. This is all.
See, they were not businessmen.
I don't know how that happened to
Well,
this
they got
day.
taken advantage of at Apple. A lot of people
I don't even know how that
sycophants
happened.
around
I'll
it.
be
They
honest
just
to
didn't
this
know. I think
day.
that was naivete.
I think what might have happened is James forgot. I don't think he realized that contract was.
It wasn't big business.
And for instance, I'll give you an example. You take the line in Fire and Rain, sweet dreams of flying machines in pieces on the ground. Do you know what that means? The Flying Machine was his first rock and roll band. Sweet dreams of flying machines in pieces on the ground is when they broke up. That's a line in Fire and Rain.
Yeah.
And that's a song we published at April Blackwood. So now I have to walk in and say to the president of Apple Records, this is, let him go. We own it.
You owe some money.
So sure enough, the album comes out. We did own it. We ended up with the publishing. That was my biggest raise of all the raises
I'm
I
sure
ever got.
Clive loved you
That
to
was
death
that was
for
when I
that
got big
one,
time.
man.
But here's where I came in to help James, and I told James this at Mohegan Sun. I said, James, you do realize that the reason the publishing reverted back to you was because of me.
Yeah.
So I got a time span for us to own the publishing, but at the end of that years, it reverted back to him. So in his lifetime, it's his music.
Got it. That's amazing. All right. We haven't even gotten to the remarkable part of your story. If that enough wasn't remarkable, we get to the most remarkable part of the story, and this is backing up.
Am I talking too much, you guys? Am I boring?
He's talking great. You're
Is
talking,
okay?
Talking great. Yeah. The remarkable part
Because
of
you know why he's asking me questions, taking me to 14 different places, and I'm sorry.
I know.
I don't know how else to answer them because I'm an eighth grader.
The remarkable part is what happens next. The way you back into Candida, Knock 3 Times, Tie a Yellow Ribbon. So you're a music exec, and who comes to you at that point? Larry Brown?
So no, Larry Brown, no. It was Hank Bedris and Dave Apple. Hank is one of the tokens from Line Sleeps Tonight. Old friend of mine, produced a lot of hit records. And he comes to my office with Candida. Finished. He said, Tony, I'm broke. Now I'm vice president. I'm vice president of CBS. Hey, Hank, what can I do for you? He says, I need $3,000 to pay my rent. Can you help me out? I said, play me the record. I hear Candida. I said, you know what? I think it's a hit song. I said, but I'm not a record company. I'm a music publisher. And I said, this is not the right song, a record for Clive, because Clive's more into albums than into singles. Let me bring it to a label that understands singles, which was Bell Records, which is now Arista Records. So I take the record. I said, if I can get the $3,000 for you, I'll see what. And I play it for the president of Bell Records. He says, I love the song, Tony, and I love the, but I'm not crazy about the singer. I go back and I say to Hank, he'll give you the $3,000 if you put a singer on here that he likes. He goes, you do it. This song reminds you of a little bit like the Drifters, the Carole King songs. Yeah. Didn't you do the demos for her back in the day? I said, yeah. Do it for me, Tony. Put your voice on. I promise I won't call it Tony Orlando. I'll call it some other name. I said, Hank, I can't do it. Please, I'm broke. I go, okay, we'll go in the studio. If you get the performance out of me in 1 hour, you got it.
What year is this?
This is 1971.
71.
Beginning of 71. I go in, I cut the song, Steve, one line at a time because I didn't know the song. In those days, you could do that. You sing the first line, stars won't come out if they know that you're about. What's the next line? He goes, 'cause they couldn't match the glow of your eyes. Okay, play my first line back to me. I hear my first line. I finished the second line. Did that all the way to the end. Finished it in an hour. Comes out. Becomes a #1 record. My secretary runs in and she said, you know that record you cut for Hank is #1. Dawn. I said, Dawn? He said, yo, you're Dawn. He named you Dawn. I said, I call him as a Hank. Congratulations, #1. I have no deal, no record contract, nothing with him. I'm happy. Now that you got your $3,000, you're going to have to pay him back. You got your 3,000. How about giving me a little bit of the taste? He goes, oh, Tony, I'm so forever grateful. He said, yeah. I said, why did you call me Dawn? I know you don't want me to use my name, thank you. But why Dawn? He goes, the president's daughter's name is Dawn. And I figured I'd get special attention.
Smart man.
So he named the group Dawn. Then he plays me Knock 3 times. I said, well, that's the worst song I ever heard. Larry Brown's song. He didn't write Candida. He wrote Larry Brown. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, I love Larry Brown, but that song is only going to be a hit in Brooklyn because that's where they have pipes and steam pipes. They don't have steam pipes in the Midwest, so you'll have a hit in Brooklyn. Okay, I'll do it for you. That sold 4 million records. Now, in 2 records, as a favor, I've sold 6 million records, but I'm still working for Clive. What do I do? Everybody, what would you do? I'm going to ask you at home. Your dream is to become a performer. You're sitting behind the desk. You've just sold 6 million records as somebody called Dawn. Do you become Dawn? What does Dawn look like? Do I become Dawn? What is it, Dawn a group? What is Dawn? I'm going to become Dawn. That's it. I'm going to form a group called Dawn. I'm going to go to Clive Davis and I'm going to tell him I've got to leave the company. I go to Clive Davis. I walk in the room and this is Clive. My worst imitation. Forgive me, Clive. Tony, what can I do for you? I go, Clive, I want to thank you very much for the opportunity of representing James Taylor and Barry Manilow and Laura Nero, blood, sweat, and tears. But I'm going to have to leave the company. Why? Because you're Dawn? And I go, wait a minute. You knew I was Dawn? He said, yes, the worst kept secret in show business. So I leave the company. I become Dawn. I told you, guru, Don Kirshner, right? Clive Davis, right? Leave Clive Davis, and I'm going to now go out and and I meet Fred Silverman, the president of CBS.
So Thelma and Joyce.
Thelma and Joyce.
They come.
How do I find Dawn?
Yeah, that's what I like.
Okay, you keep me in line. So I got to figure out, what is Dawn? Is it a band? I could make it anything I want. I listen to the record. I hear a guy and girl singers. Knock 3 times. The background singers, that's it. So I find out that Hot Buttered Soul. Now remember, the background singers on the first 2 records were not Thelma and Joyce. They were hired background singers in New York.
Yeah.
All right? But I want to form a group now, Dawn. So what are they going to look like? So I said, I want to work with 2 beautiful African-American soul singers. That's what Dawn is going to be for me, because that's my music.
So that was your vision.
That was my vision. So I figured, let me call Hot Buttered Soul. They're with Isaac Hayes. I love that group. And I talked to a girl named Thelma Hopkins, who is part of this singing group, Hot Buttered Soul, with Isaac Hayes. She's the one that said, shut your mouth, Isaac Hayes, on Shaft, right? She comes to my office. I said, hey, we're going to go to England. What? You know the song Candida, Knock 3 times? Those 2 records? Yeah, that's me. I'm Dawn. But I don't want to be Dawn. I want to be Dawn, the 3 of us Dawn. So she goes, well, how much you got? I said, how much you want? How much we need? I said, how much can you stay? How long can you stay? And we did this, how much, how long? We started laughing. Finally, she said, I'll bring my cousin with me, and that was Joyce. And the 3 of us then went on the road singing Candida, Knock 3 times. Now it's time for the album. And on the album, that's when they were born. And Hank comes to me with a song called Tie a Yellow Ribbon Around the Old Oak Tree.
You thought it was lousy, right?
With Larry Brown, and he...
Did you understand the significance of the song?
No. Larry Brown comes in and he plays me this song, the writer, on his guitar, and I said, Larry, it's a country song. We don't sing country. You sing it, because he sings great. Uh-huh. You sing it, Larry. And he goes, no, man, no, this is for you. I'm telling you. I said, I'll tell you. So I had an idea. I said to Hank Medras, the producer, I'll cut this song, because I didn't believe it was a hit. Here I am, the big Maha publisher, smart guy, brilliant guy with the 2 ears,
miss
and
that
I
one.
didn't hear that as a hit, right? But I used it as a bargaining chip with Hank, my producer. I said, tell you what, I'll record the song if you allow Thelma and Joyce to be, because I want to build a career solo artist on some of the cuts on the album. And he did. And that was the beginning of an artistry, a group, an actual act. So
Tony
Yellow Ribbon
Orlando and Dawn at that point. And
came when the song went number one, and CBS saw me at Westbury, and he said, how do you block a football game? And I said, you follow the football. You got a summer replacement show, but you can't be Dawn. So what's the name of the show going to be? Oh, Tony Orlando and Dawn.
And Dawn. I want to go back, though, because I'm going back in my memory bank to when that song became a hit song. I want to guess it was 74, 75. Is that about the right
73 was Yellow Ribbon.
73 was Yellow Ribbon. Okay.
So we went on a summer replacement show.
So I was in
in
sixth
73.
grade, right around sixth grade.
So the summer of 73, we went on television.
Got it. But I remember with the song, it was such a gigantic
And the reason
song.
you say 74, it's interesting you should say that, Steve, because I learned one thing about hit records. They become a hit when they become number one, but they don't have their impact of the kind of hit they are until 1 year later.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's why you're feeling 74.
Yeah, because when it came into my consciousness, I mean, people were putting ribbons around trees. Everyone was talking about it. It was on the radio nonstop.
Yeah.
And then I saw you, of course.
Think
on
of how many
TV.
times that's happened, too.
Well, I was going to ask you, at what point did you know that this thing's going to be a smash hit? You've recorded
you,
in 73.
I'll tell you when I knew. When I left that studio and I heard the final recording of that record, I said,
You knew? Yeah, at that point it caught up to you.
and then I went back to what I told you earlier. I went back to the lyric. I forgot the lyric aspect that Clive taught me. Think of it. I'm coming home, I've done my time. I've got to know what is and isn't mine. This guy's coming out
Vietnam?
of prison. This guy's coming. What a love story. This guy's now on a bus. He's sitting on a bus. He doesn't know whether his girlfriend wants him back or not, or his wife.
Yeah.
He's saying, I sent her a letter. I hope she got it, everybody on the bus. The whole bus is sitting there. It's a little movie, right? They're sitting, and I realized the lyric. Then, that little moment when Larry Brown and Irwin Levine write, now the whole damn bus is cheering because they can't believe they see 100 yellow ribbons around that tree. That girl didn't love him just with one yellow ribbon. She welcomed him back 100 times more. As Paul McCartney said about Yellow Ribbon to me, to tell Larry Brown, that's one of the greatest love stories ever written.
Is that right? McCartney said that.
He said it to Geraldo Rivera, and he said it to me.
Yeah.
And he said it to Geraldo Rivera on television. So when Geraldo kind of went, what do you think of Yellow Ribbon? Kind of like hoping that he'd get maybe a down, oh, it's corny or something. No, Paul saw the strength of that Irwin Levine lyric and that
How
Larry
right
Brown
he
song.
was, because the legacy of that song.
And that's when I knew. And what people don't know is that song has been a homecoming from our POWs from Vietnam. I reunion with them now for 54 straight years since I first sang it to them when they came home from Hanoi, Hilton. And the same thing goes in China right now, in Hong Kong. If there's a demonstration for freedom in Hong Kong, that theme song is Yellow Ribbon. If you go to the Philippines, the theme song is Yellow Ribbon. If you go to Jerusalem right now, or Tel Aviv right now, the traffic lights are yellow ribbons in support of the hostages that are there. The yellow ribbons hanging everywhere. In 15 different countries, Steve, Larry Brown and Irwin Levine wrote a song of hope and freedom for countries, not just in America, but around the world.
That's the power of music.
Just think the power of music.
The audience missed it today. It was your day today, Tony Orlando Day. And this legend was kind enough to answer questions from the audience, and we had well over 100 people here. And then you sang. It was such a nice surprise. You sang Tie a Yellow Ribbon. And I'm watching and I'm videotaping, and I can't believe my eyes. I've always known music has a power to bring people together, but to see it in a smaller room here, people from all walks of life, all ethnic backgrounds, a little baby that's related to the Jonas Brothers was here today.
Yeah.
And to see everybody smiling and coming together.
It's amazing,
But it's a credit to that song and Larry Brown.
Exactly, and Larry Brown. And I hope someday you're going to get
I
mad at
know
me.
that. I
But
know.
You know
He
me.
deserves to be
You
in
have
the
no
Hall.
control over this, but I know that I hope that the Hall of Fame looks at Larry Brown
Yeah.
and Irwin, both Jersey boys, by the way.
Larry comes from Newark. He came, I think, from the projects that my dad
Absolutely.
grew up in.
Yeah, that's right.
And he even, when I talk to him by phone, he even sounds like one of my dad's friends, Sidney Lehner.
He changed.
But if he's listening, he needs to know he does belong in here, and it's going to happen. We're going to.
You know, it's the most recorded song of all time.
Yeah, and it's not just, he also wrote Candida,
No, he wrote
Knock 3
Yellow
Times.
Ribbon. He wrote Knock 3 Times.
Knock
He wrote
3.
Gypsy Rose. He wrote Who's in the Strawberry Patch. Most of the big hits for us.
That's amazing. So then Fred Silverman, and a new door opens. You're doing a variety show. I mean, you wake up one day, and people forget. The younger people don't realize. When I watched television in the '70s, when this show came on,
It was the variety show.
It was only channels 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, and 11.
No internet.
And channel 13, which barely came in. It was a terrible
it.
signal. But it was really 2, 4, and 7. CBS, ABC, and NBC.
3 networks.
3 networks. So all of a sudden you wake up, kid from Union City, and how many? 40 million? 50?
36 million people watch this every
36
Wednesday.
million people are tuning in. So now, for the first time in your life, you can't go anywhere
Right.
without being recognized,
Right.
right? What was that? Must have been an
That was the one time I can honestly tell you that I connected with what making it was. It was the first time, I'll never forget the first time. I walked on a plane. I was late for the flight. I walked on the plane, and this would happen to me several times. I walked on the plane, and the people would see me walk out to get on the plane, and they would applaud.
Oh my gosh. By the way, when I walk on a plane late, they say, "Sit down, you son of a."
No, but that's when I went, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And then this one hit me. Same plane. I'm leaving Chicago and we're taking off. This is the God's truth, everybody. Imagine this, be my shoes. The plane's taking off and it banks to the left, and I look into someone's apartment and my TV show is on.
Oh my gosh, that's a surreal moment.
The plane is doing this, like
You
this.
should have waved.
And I'm looking down and I'm watching a family watching me on TV.
Oh my gosh, that's surreal. That's got to be a scary thing too, right? To be all of a sudden, you're Tony. How do you pronounce the original name? Cassavetes?
Cassavetes.
I mean, you're really just a kid. It happened so quick. Everything. I mean, that 10 years.
Too quick.
From
too quick to recognize it.
10, 12
Too
years.
quick to analyze it.
Yeah.
Just go with the flow. Be a pro. Be a pro. Be as cooperative as possible. Don't be
To be a pro keeps your sanity, right?
Yeah. Being a pro. Being a pro is everything.
Yeah. At anything. In any profession.
And acting like a pro even when you're not a pro yet.
Right.
Acknowledging there's a professional way to approach people, there's a professional way to hold a meeting, to hold a rehearsal hall, that recognize what the pros do and follow their lead.
Right. But nevertheless, 40 million people are watching you every week. You can't go anywhere. That's got to be scary at times, right?
No,
you don't have your privacy
I was
anymore.
more grateful at times.
You were grateful.
I was more grateful than I was scary. I'll give you an example. So Elvis Presley became a friend, and Ali was a friend. Would you say 2 of the most famous people on the planet Earth, right? Elvis, Ali. Well, one day because Elvis and I worked the same hotel in Las Vegas Hilton. So when I would close, he would come into my dressing room the night before. He would open, and vice versa. That's just protocol,
Right.
professional protocol. So one day I'm sitting with him at the dressing room and I said, you know, Elvis, you're not enjoying your career at all. You live in a velvet jail with gold bars and a diamond key. And you're happy in this jail cell you're in. Versus, I was just with Muhammad Ali in front of a delicatessen, the stage delicatessen in New York. He was on the street and he was doing small magic tricks with kids on the street.
And he was as big as
And
Elvis.
he was as recognizable in the world
Right.
as Elvis Presley. And the people are going, we love you, champ. And you got to get in the car. Elvis has left the building. Elvis has left his jail cell to go to his jail car,
So what-
to go to his jail home. I said, sweetheart, you got to enjoy this. People love you.
So you're telling us that the difference between Ali and Elvis was that Ali enjoyed it. He was in the moment. He was.
Elvis didn't know.
He just kept things simple.
No, he enjoyed the people.
Right.
Elvis was conditioned by Colonel Parker to have a mystique. That's why
see.
you keep that mystique, Elvis. Well, you're untouchable. You're Elvis Presley, and it's true. It became that, but it hurt his life to live a life.
Well, Ali
like that.
had a mystique too, but he developed his own persona. He came into
Well, he
it-
was a people person.
And he was a people
and
person.
Elvis, God bless him and rest his soul, had the kindest heart. He was the most wonderful guy.
Yeah.
You know, Priscilla came to see my show, my retirement show at Mohegan Sun. I know Priscilla and Elvis when they were married and when they were divorced. And I can tell you that two of the sweetest, nicest, Elvis was blazing. So it bothered me that he wasn't able to receive because they were so worried about image,
Yeah.
the people around him, like Colonel Parker.
Yeah.
So I wanted to live. I felt that my life was with people. Like I said to the people who were here today, those people out there, that's my boss.
I saw something
Not
in
the
you,
head of the record company. My boss is that guy that bought my record.
but I
That's
saw
my
something
boss,
in you today.
Right?
I saw the magic of, it's a desire on your part, I think, to lift people one soul at a time. You really enjoy the one-on-one and seeing somebody happy.
Yeah.
That's an incredible.
That's what show
Talent.
business is supposed to be
Right.
for. It's a healing.
Yeah,
It's a medicine.
yeah.
You know, when someone comes, I'll give you an example. The guy walks in backstage. This was a big lesson for me. And he says to me, hey, man, can I curse, by the way? It's a podcast. I can curse,
Yeah, you can
right?
do whatever
Okay.
you want.
Guy walks backstage and he says, hey, man, I just want you to know I was in the audience tonight. He says, I have 4-stage cancer. And that's the best fucking show I ever saw in my life. And I thought to myself, this guy's last show that he's ever going to see again is my show? I never walked down a stage again after that day. I always said there's one guy out there just like that guy.
Right.
There's one guy or girl out there who just had a divorce. There's one guy or girl out there who's going to get into a car accident on the way home because that's the basic math of it. If there's 10,000 people, somebody's going to get hurt walking out of here. It's just the way life is. Don't you ever walk on that stage and not make it the best show that fucking guy ever saw again. Wait. 5 years later, a guy walks up to me and he goes, Tony, do you remember me? I said, you look familiar. He said, I came up to you one day and told you I had 4-stage cancer. I just want you to know I beat it. And it's still the fucking greatest show I've ever seen.
I love that, man.
So,
what a great feeling that
so
gives you.
that guy makes you know why you do what you do. This is the only business in the world that is a free prescription for healing.
Yeah.
When people go to a show, they are getting a spoonful of medicine.
Yeah.
If the performer doesn't take that seriously, he's not a good doctor.
So we're still only in the mid-70s. There's so much up to your
I'm
career.
81.
There's 81 years old. You look
I'm an old guy,
you
man.
look so great, man. The show is a big hit. I still remember it as a kid. Tony Orlando and Dawn show. What's one of your more favorite memories of that show?
God, there were so many memories in that show. I would have to say, the night that I had a confrontation with Jackie Gleason, but we became friends. It was my very first show. I told you this story.
I've heard the story before.
Yeah.
He was a
And
prima
it's a
donna.
long story, but basically what happened was he wasn't nice. I let him know he wasn't nice. By me letting him know he wasn't nice, he didn't become, he got worse. We were bumping heads on television, no one knew it. And it was all because he said something racist towards the two black girls in my group. And I let him know how I felt about it and how I felt about him. And at the end of the show, I thought I lost it. I thought I came out of the box and hurt myself because I used bad language towards him. I was only 28 years old. He was the greatest entertainer at that time that ever lived. And at the end of it all, he calls me in the dressing room when the show was over, and he's got a glass in his hand, and I can hear the ice tinkling in the glass. And he says in a Gleason way, "Sit down, pal." And he's got his back to me, and he said, "Is that my script book on the table?" And I said, "Yes, sir." "Is it for me to keep?" I said, "Yes, sir." "Open it up to the first page." "Yes, sir." I open it up. "Read it out loud to me." "Yes, sir, Mr. Gleason." It says, "Dear Tony, I was an absolute asshole. Please forgive me. I'm so sorry."
Wow.
Jackie Gleason.
Wow. Did you keep that?
You know something?
You didn't
In the
keep it.
transition of my divorce,
Yeah.
somewhere lost. It kills me. But here's what I did keep. A friendship with him until the day he died.
Beautiful.
That man called me every single week and said things like, "Hey, I watched the show this week. You stupid idiot. You don't wear a silver zipper and a black tuxedo. You look like your zipper's open, you dummy. And by the way, you ought to give thanks to the good Lord that you sing with those two black, beautiful women of yours."
Jackie Gleason. He said it the way it is, huh? That's crazy. So that's around the mid-70s. And so I think maybe 2 weeks ago, I'm at home and I'm watching television. I'm going through, I think it's on Prime, and I'm seeing what my options are. And I seen Dean Martin roast.
Right.
And I click on, it was a roast of Dean Martin himself.
Yep.
He would roast other
Yep.
people, but this was of him. And they're introducing everybody from Sinatra to Tony Orlando, and I'm like,
Ronald
holy-
Reagan was on that
Reagan
show.
was
Yeah,
on
yeah.
there. Barry Goldwater,
Oh, all
I
these
think was
people,
on
yeah.
there, and Ali was on there, and Ruth Buzzy, and Bob Hope.
God
and-
rest her soul. She
Yeah, I
was
mean,
dying.
all these legends that I grew up with, and there's my buddy that I've gotten to know. I'm like, I know.
What I
this-
remember about that roast was when we roasted Ali.
Right. Tell us about that.
Well, there's a lot of things about that one. But what I do remember is when Ali told me he was going to pull Howard Cosell's hairpiece off on the show. And I said, "Ali, you can't do that." "Oh, man, I just want to pull that hairpiece off, that stupid hairpiece on his head." You know, they were very good friends, you know,
Yeah.
Ali and them. And I said, "Well, you know, you're going to help me." I said, "I'm not going to help you pull his hairpiece off."
That would have been a
And
hell of a television movie.
And he starts to try.
Oh,
if you
my
watch
God.
it, Ali starts to go, I'm grabbing Ali. I'm saying, "Hey, man, don't be."
Are you kidding?
But Ali was, Ali, you know, if you go to YouTube, you can watch me sparring with Ali. I don't know if you ever saw that.
No.
I'll send it to you. You can play it on this show. And what happened was I went on the Dinah Shore afternoon show, and Ali was her guest, and I heard that he was on. So I got my boxing trunks on and a robe on. I used to do a character named Kid Ghetto, and I go downstairs, and there's Ali. And I walk on the set and I go, come on, sucker. Come on, let's get this on, to Ali. And he gets up and he says, I don't like fighters that talk too much, he says to me. And he gets up and we start sparring. Now remember, I'm 29 years old. I'm pretty athletic at that time. And I'm now sparring with the great Muhammad Ali. And I'm doing the shuffle with him and all that. And you can see it on YouTube. And I'm boxing him, and all of a sudden, I'm come up low, and I hit him with a left-hand jab, and by mistake, I slap his face, and you can hear. And the studio audience goes, whoa. And I look at Ali's eyes, and they're like saucers. And I can see him walking towards me. And he's coming at me. And they look, bam, and he hits me in the shoulder. And I said, oh, my God, he's hit me in the shoulder, right? Yeah. So the little fight's over. And he goes, hey, Tony, you tired, a little tired now from that? I said, I don't know how you do 15 rounds with Joe Frazier, Ali. I said, the only thing I think left to do in the world when you fight a guy like you after 15 rounds is this. And I kissed him on his lips. And from that, and he went, and from that day on, Ali and I became not friends, best friends.
That was like,
and the last words I heard from Ali, and I've never said this on a podcast, was the most loving thing that's ever been. You can't believe how I carry this in my heart. We were at the Essex House Hotel. We just finished breakfast. My wife and my daughter and my son were walking on this side of the elevator, and he was going up to the bigger suite on the left side of the elevator. And he was like this by then, shaking. And by that, he's walking, I get in, and I hear these words, my last words from Muhammad Ali. Hey, Tony, man, I love you.
Wow.
There is an award.
Yeah.
There isn't a compliment. There isn't a gold record. There isn't anything I've ever received in all of my 64 years that can beat that moment.
So you have another incredible friendship that I was very touched by. That with Freddie Prinze.
Yeah.
You guys were brothers.
Yeah.
Right? How did you meet him?
I saw him on the Merv Griffin show, which was an afternoon show. I said, this kid's unbelievable. So I got his number and I called him to become a guest on my show. And he just started Chico and the Man. And I called him up. I said, hey, man, this is Tony Orlando. Wait a second here. You talking, this is Tony Orlando? Hang on a second. Hey, everybody. This is what I hear him on the phone. This is Tony Orlando. I said, hey, man, where are you? He said, I'm all by myself at home. I just thought I act like there's a whole bunch of people here because I'm talking to Tony Orlando. I said, this guy's a piece of work. So he's from New York.
Yeah.
Upstate, up in Westchester County area, I think it was. Anyway, from New York, went Puerto Rican, Hungarian.
You're, of course, a Puerto
He was
Rican
Hungarian,
and
Puerto Rican.
Greek
I'm
descent.
Greek, so I'm Greek-Rican, he's Hungarian. Okay, so I said, I'd like to meet you, man. He said, yeah, let's get together. So I said, I get together with him. I said, why don't you do my variety show? So he'd never done a variety show before. So I said, why don't you come on looking like me and you being me? And you introduce Freddie and I'll come out as Freddie. He said, do I get a chance to sing? I said, yeah. So Freddie was 6'3".
I didn't know that.
Freddie
cool.
was a big dude.
Yeah.
So, and a ballet dancer, by the way.
Well.
A graceful ballet dancer, but a soulful guy. Now, he was only in show business for 2 years. That's it. Think of it. We're still talking Freddie Prinze, and his career was only 2 years long.
That's mind-blowing.
And the reason we remember him is not only because of his tragic death at a young age. He was a genius. He was a comedic genius.
Cutting edge.
Cutting edge. And if you watch YouTube and go to Freddie Prinze's first appearance on The Tonight Show, what you will see is a guy who was 19 years old, and you'll say, man, look at how calm and cool and collected and in control this kid is. He was an old spirit. He wasn't 19. He was 119. He was a pro from the moment go. And when I saw that show, I knew I was in the presence of greatness. And in the 2 years that he became a star, I was having big years with my television show. So here we were, two kids from New York, New Jersey, and here we were, big TV stars. Him with Chico and the Man, me with Tony Orlando and Dawn.
And you looked
we were
alike.
the
You
only
looked
two
like
guys in
brothers.
Hollywood who knew what pasteles was, who knew what arroz con condole was, who knew what Spanish Puerto Rican household food was. So we became soul brothers. And Freddie killed himself, and Freddie died in my arms. The last pair of lips that ever kissed his lips, other than his mom and his wife, was mine.
What happened?
Who knows from where it came from? All I know is he was a genius, and he died too young. And I lost a brother, and when he died, I died a certain death. I had a mental and emotional breakdown from it. I had to quit the business for a year because I never saw anybody die. Imagine I walked into the hospital not long after he hurt himself, and I saw him laying in there with his hand still in this position, and I'm the one that opened up his hand so that no one could see that. That was a
That's a dark place.
that was a that was
It's a dark place
that
to
was
go
the
to.
worst day of my life.
I mean, you're brothers with the guy, and then to see
That was a horrifying day.
Yeah.
And then to see his mom there, and then to see his wife, Kathy, who I never saw love come out of a woman that came
Let
out
me
of
ask
her.
you a question, because a lot of people listening got to go through adversity of one kind or another. If you could go back to those days and weeks and months after you lost Freddie, could you have done something different, whether it was going to talk to a therapist or praying more? Is there anything you could have done to prevent you?
I did everything you just mentioned.
And it still didn't help.
Yeah, it helped.
Oh, it did help. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Praying helped the most. I had some good therapy, but praying was the key. Yeah. When you compliment, imagine if you created life. Imagine if you, God, wouldn't you be proud of this thing called life? Wouldn't you say, man, I really created something unbelievable here. Check out this. I created life, man. So if you fight for your life, you're complimenting the Lord.
Right.
You're complimenting his creation. You're saying to him, this is worth fighting for. When someone commits suicide like that, it makes me feel, if he'd only been told that, I don't think he'd have ever done it. Not told it, but realized it. So I realized it, and that's why I'm still here. Freddie is in heaven. Freddie is with God, all merciful that he is. And he's up there making everybody laugh. But I can tell you right now that Freddie's moment changed my life on several ways. It was the worst experience I had, and it was what lifted me out of that. It made me look up for a larger strength and move on. And then I value life more than anything. If I right now am going to die of some sort of cancer, and if that's in my body, I'm going to fight that cancer with everything I got, because I want God to go, look at Tony, man. He thinks this life thing is important. Wow, thank you, Tony.
So I think I've told you this story before. I mean, what you're describing is the fight or flight type of options that you have. Fight or flight, take off. And I wasn't thinking about suicide.
Look, I'm a religious dude. A lot of people will sit out there and probably say, I don't know about that, I don't know about that, I'm not sure about this or that. And that's fine. That's fine. But whenever they get to the point in life, and you have, I saw your documentary. And if anybody saw pain, and everybody saw someone fight for their life, it's you. If there's anybody that I am talking to who knows what it is to combat if anybody glorified life, is the man I'm talking to on this podcast.
I appreciate that. So,
and in your documentary, I hope it gets seen, because Your whole story is an unbelievable story. And sometime you're going to come on my podcast, and I'm going to ask you the questions, and you're going to tell me the stories, because your story will inspire millions.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I want to tell it now to help somebody who may be out there needing the help. So I went through a windshield when I was 8 years old. My mom and I went head on with a Mack truck.
Imagine.
And 300 stitches. My ears were hanging. My jaw was fractured. My teeth were all knocked out. 3 blood transfusions. Last rites. And an experience being surrounded by my great-grandmother I never met and my grandfather I had never met were there to greet me, to say, go back and do some good. I survived it. At the same time, I had a lot of burden on my shoulder as a kid. I was the shortest kid. I needed growth hormone shots or I wasn't going to make it to 5 feet.
Unbelievable.
I had ADD. I couldn't concentrate in school.
Look at you.
Of course, the trauma. But the point is this, that, and this is the part of the story that I hope helps somebody, is I prayed to God in bed. It wasn't prayer at first. It was more bitterness and anger and questioning.
Yes, that is
Why
prayer.
did this happen?
Well, that's right.
Why did this happen? And this went on for 3
Hey, Christ said, Lord, why hast thou forsaken me? It's the same cry out.
So I did that, and I did it night after night,
Right?
night after night, year after year. It was probably 3-4 years into this, what I call the conversation with God.
Right.
And what I heard one night, power of prayer, was God telling me, what happened to you happened. There's no taking it back.
Right.
But now you and you alone have an opportunity to define yourself on your terms or not. But if you choose not to, dummy, and it was sort of like that kind
That's
of...
how God talks to you
yeah,
that way.
if you choose not to, don't complain to me. Don't complain to your mom or dad. So I felt a sense of empowerment in that moment.
When you start out, it's the power of love. You love this country. And many of these guys who become president and they cross the line, they become the love of power.
Power corrupts.
And they lose what they got started out to do, but it all starts with the power of love.
Now, I don't want to fawn upon you, oh, you're a big celebrity. More importantly, you're a humble, talented man, really, that's reached the pinnacle. But the important part is you've touched so many lives, whether it's through music or it's through a story like that. And you talking about your problem and helping so many people to overcome adversity. And then, of course, we'll get into it before you leave, your help with veterans. But it's something that you ought to feel, and I'm sure your family feels a lot of pride around. It's amazing,
you.
and I needed to interject. I got to...
You do the same.
yeah, well,
you
I
know
try,
something,
but I'm not...
You're good with compliments, but you can't take a compliment.
Nah, it's not that.
Let me tell you something. You got to learn to take a compliment. Because the truth of the matter is, if you don't hear when people appreciate what you do, when you don't take it in,
Yeah.
you're a loser.
Yep.
Because
I appreciate that.
What you've done to this, what you did for those people sitting out there wasn't me. Look at what they sat under. Look at the screens. Look at the color.
Yeah.
Look at the creativity. Look at this room we're in. Look at what they experienced because of your heart.
Yeah. And I hope it's going to lift generations
Steve, really,
of people.
when I say that to you, this is not me doing a compliment, show business, compliment show. This is something...
I accept it. I hear it every night from my mother.
This is the reason podcasts are important. You want to know why? Because television shows were scripted.
Yeah, that's right. It's not real.
Podcasts aren't scripted.
Yeah.
Young people like that young man over there watching this and working this set.
That's cute.
He's shaking his head at times because he knows what's real and isn't real.
He sure does.
And when he sees a podcast, it ain't some guy writing a script in a room on a television show.
The first time he heard me, he nodded. Okay.
Am
you're
I
okay.
right?
He's like, you're
Young
real.
man?
You're keeping it real. It is about keeping
So
it
when
real.
you talk like that, I swear to you, because you're a humble dude, but you people who watch his show, his podcast, someday get out of him. Maybe it's one of these young workers that work with you. What you've done in your life Because it's going to, like Betty helped me, I'm going to help you. You got to tell those people what you've been through, Steve.
Yeah.
Because honestly, you changed me when I met you.
You are a beautiful human being. And it is about the Q's and the P's. The P and Q, that's my combination over here that oversees the show. And it is about lifting them and trying to get them to be the best that they could be and for the greater good. Because we got away from that in this country, didn't we? The greater good, lifting each other. And I have a theory about it. I want to hear yours because we promised we would talk about how the world has changed in many respects for the
You know
better.
what's changed the world, period? 24 news cycle shows.
One of the things.
You know one of the things that's changed at all?
Yeah, us
is you
versus
got
them.
Fox, CNN,
Yeah.
all these people become experts. Since when do two comedians and the two women on The View become experts on politics? These are two comedians.
We have too many
What
people.
are we talking about here? We're not talking about two people who have run for office and done anything.
Yeah.
They made people left. Now all of a sudden, this is what the president should do. And these people out there watching them think they know what they're talking about.
Well, it's beyond
You
them.
get talking heads fighting each other for 24 hours, you're not going to get a good result.
So here is, thank you. I feel the same way. And everyone has.
And I love the shows. That's what's so crazy.
I know.
I watch them
You
too.
can't look away. It's like an accident. But everybody has a
that's the
social.
difference.
Everyone has a social media platform. Everybody has a voice. Everybody wants to be heard, and we're just pulling at each other. And it's like the two political parties are like two gigantic guys having a tug of war over mud, and one pulls one down and the other pulls the other down, and we're humiliating ourselves in front of our kids, and we're not moving the country
Well, but
forward.
pulling down, here's the ultimate reason for pulling down. It's called ratings.
Okay, this leads me to my point. I want you to think about this. This was a theory that I saw one show or another on Netflix. And they talked about, this is very interesting.
Listen, I know Joe Biden.
Yeah.
I've known Joe Biden for years and years and years and years. So do you probably, right? You know Joe Biden?
I've met Joe Biden.
Okay, how can anybody get on television and not protect this man?
Right.
How can anybody sit on television and go, he's perfectly 100% right?
Yeah.
You know what that's like saying? Let him walk across the street and get hit by a truck. Go ahead.
There are a lot of people in the Democratic Party very upset
Come
in
on.
asking that question.
That's ridiculous.
But you could move from one issue to the other and be as angry. You know, I mean, there's just so many challenges right now. As much at the same time.
But I'm saying if we didn't have that 24-hour, if it was only
keeps it out there.
Walter Cronkite and it was only an hour news at night, you
Yeah.
wouldn't have this battle.
But I want you to hear my crazy theory. After World War I, we went into a depression. 10 years later, we went into a depression in this country, and it was awful. 20% plus unemployment and dust bowls, and people are starving to death. After World War II, the public officials, the White House, Wall Street, Madison Avenue, all figured out we need to avoid another depression. We're coming out of a war. And what they decided to do was invent the age of consumerism. I mean, I'm a capitalist. I'm not fighting against I believe in capitalism. I just think it's for all the injustices. But they invented in the 50s all the ads. They started brainwashing us, right? It's about happiness is about white picket fence and houses and washers and dryers and refrigerators and cigarettes and alcohol.
What's happier than that?
What's happier than that is lifting people and true connection.
Why can't you lift people and have that?
You can.
That's America.
You can. You can. But
That's
too
America.
much emphasis went into the individual and their net worth.
But you just talked about dreams.
Well, here,
You just did a whole thing about how wonderful dreams are.
but it became more about getting my
What's the dream?
comeuppance.
Is the dream making it?
No, think about this. The Greatest Generation,
Is the dream being a star? What's the dream?
what Tom Brokaw write about, The Greatest Generation, it was our immigrant parents, and in my case, immigrant grandparents, who all they wanted was a better life for their children. And the key to that was education. And it was about lifting them.
But
And
look how small
and the
everything
point is,
was, though, Steve.
it was
There was
smaller.
no internet. There was no shooting to the moon. There was no. Look at how everything was so narrow.
Yeah.
It was easy to make it that way then.
Times have changed. There's a lot
That
more
young man
people-
sitting right there, he has more information coming at him than you and I ever could dream of. He has to make more decisions at crap coming at him from the internet, from every different side than we could ever dream of.
It's information overload.
Right?
We got to figure out how to help our children to only absorb so much of it and find time to meditate and yoga and smell the roses. But where I'm going
I
with
believe
this,
in protecting the quarterback. Look, let me tell you something. I've worked for Obamas. I've worked for the Clintons. I've worked for the Fords. I've worked for the Reagans. I've worked for the Trumps. I worked more. So people say, well, how do you do that? I said, well, you know what I do? I root for the guy who's flying my plane. I root for the pilot that's flying my plane. Once that guy becomes president, I'm going to root for that guy and make him a success.
you are taking.
I root for him no different than I say, I'm going to make sure that pilot flies this plane, man. I'm going to do everything positive to support that pilot.
You don't ask your neurosurgeon, God forbid you have a brain operation, or you're Democrat,
no, I'm
Republican.
saying,
But
once the person the worst thing we ever did in this country was give color. We haven't learned our lesson to political movements. It is no longer a black and white prejudice. It's a blue and red prejudice.
that's right. That's correct.
Next, you're going to have blue and red uniforms.
I couldn't agree more
And
with you.
what happens when you have blue and red uniforms? What comes after that?
Yeah.
So we have made color barrier a part of our conversation of where we proceed as a people.
Right.
So what we say, okay, do you have a blue mentality or do you have a red mentality? Well, let's go back to a time when it was, do you have a black mentality or do you have a white mentality? How did that work out?
Yeah. So this is where I know people are over-messaged and they don't like when people preach. But some facts, first of all. We're coming up next year, 2026, on our 250th
We're babies.
anniversary.
We're babies.
Since the signing of the Constitution.
How old is China?
Thousands of years,
How
right?
old?
5,000 years?
How old is Israel?
5,000.
How old is Europe?
Yeah. We are babies.
How old is South America?
We are babies.
How old is the little infant called United States of America?
250.
250 years old, and we're just little crawling our way through life. But meanwhile, we're the most powerful baby that ever walked the earth.
Right. That's right.
We are integrated with every nationality. No country can say that.
Yeah.
No country.
And that's correct. And
But we're
people,
babies, man. We're just still walking. We're 250-year-old in a baby in the world. China, 5,000 years old. Israel, 100,000 years old. 250 years old.
and
And
we
look at
don't
what we are.
and we don't pitch a perfect game by any stretch of the imagination, but it's understated how much good, how much, and whether it's exporting charitable dollars to help other countries or to support their militaries, the country's done a lot. But here's where I'm going with the 250th birthday.
Forgive me, Steve.
Yeah,
When there's a tsunami, who's the first country to show up?
I get it. It's America.
When there is an earthquake that takes over someplace in Europe that has nothing to do with downtown Newark, who are the first people that show up? While there's homeless people sleeping on the streets, veterans in San Francisco, we're still worried about the people of the Ukraine. Right. I'm telling you that we as a people, no country, 5,000-year-old country, 2,000-year-old country, or Mars has done and stood up for greatness as this country. Nobody.
Yeah. I'm not going to argue against that.
Nobody.
I'm proud of a lot of things we've done, and I'm not proud of other things we've done.
But that's like our family.
Right.
Can't you say that there's some things you're proud of your family and some things you're not? It's just human nature.
But
Look,
I think we have an opportunity to seizing on what you're saying.
I just want to see people love America.
You want to see people love America, but you also want to see people come together. I see you did it today, lifting people. You love to lift one soul at a time. You don't ask people if they're Democrat or Republican. You want to lift. So here's the opportunity. When the Constitution was written, 250 years ago, the founding generation said, okay, we're going to get away from England. We're starting this country called America, the United States of America. Where's our inspiration? Where are we drawing inspiration from? One of the main areas they looked at was ancient Greek wisdom. Ancient Greek wisdom. Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, the great philosophers. If you look at the Constitution, the ideals of democracy and governance and
including the shape of their buildings.
And the greater good is in the Constitution because they looked to concepts, and it's what the soul of this place is. It's not Jersey pride. It's a concept called arete. It's what the soul of my film is as well. And it means, it's Plato, Aristotle, and Socrates saying the essence of life is the idea, and you did it, the act of actualizing your highest, best sense of self with a moral excellence of character and for the greater good. So I think 250 years later, we're so fragmented. What an opportunity to go back to the basics, to try to convince leaders and try to convince people. Let's go put ourselves in their shoes, the founding generation. Let's go back to the basics and resolve ourselves that it should be about America, and it should, but being about America, the United States of America, is lifting people.
Stephen, it doesn't start with a man your age. The spots on your leopard are already, they're on you already.
Yeah.
It starts with a third grader and a fourth grader and a fifth grader.
Right.
I'll give you an example. I am proudly part of a foundation called Tribute to Valor. It was founded by the Medal of Honor recipient, Gary Luttrell. Now, you know I've been working with veterans since 1973.
You've done more work than
I
probably
work with
anyone in the country.
all of them.
Right.
Long before there was a Wounded Warriors, 10 years before that, I was raising money for our veterans in 1993, 10 years before. 1973, I came home with the POWs from Vietnam camp, and I've reunion with them for the last 54 years.
You with Bob Hope?
With Bob Hope. So this foundation, Tribute to Valor, is the most important one I've ever been part of. Gary Luttrell comes up with this idea amongst other Medal of Honor recipients. So the foundation does this. We take the 6 core values that are lived by the Medal of Honor recipients. Starting with integrity,
Right.
sacrifice, commitment, courage, patriotism. We take those core values to the schools in America.
Right.
We have them speak about living those core values. We ask the schools to do each month on each core value. So this month, we're going to do a month on patriotism. The following month, this is third graders and fourth graders.
I love it.
Okay?
Yeah.
We do, and then we go on, and we do the fourth and the fifth, and the most important word of the sixth to them is integrity. That is the most important of the 6 core values. Sacrifice, courage, patriotism, commitment,
Yep.
integrity. We then have the Air Force fly in as a favor to us, 3 C-130s. We take those young people on those C-130s
Those are the cargo
to
planes?
NASA. Yeah, the cargo,
Cargo
planes.
planes.
We fly them to NASA, where they meet astronauts, and they get inspired in robotics, aeronautics, space travel. We've already seen 200,000 young people.
That's amazing. That's big.
So I said to Gary, I said, listen, all great that we get these high school kids coming in, because that's who we brought in. Let's start bringing these 6 core values to our grade school kids. I won't mention the name of the school, but I was at a high school recently where the vice president of the school, the vice principal of the school, never heard of the Medal of Honor recipient. I'm going to repeat that to you. The vice principal of a huge high school didn't know what the Medal of Honor was.
It's sad.
Think of that.
I know.
Think of that for a second. So, I believe in my heart, and I learned this from Ray Charles, simplicity is genius. The simpler it is, the tougher it is to communicate to people. But the simpler it is, when it has impact, it's the most profitable.
So what you're doing is brilliant, and keep doing it and keep making it bigger and bigger. I'm running on a parallel track to what you are. I'm working with the Edison Foundation, the Thomas Edison
Would
Foundation.
you join us, by the way?
Yeah, I would love to.
I would
man.
love to have you join us.
Absolutely.
And we go to areas where kids, they've never been on an airplane.
No,
they poor kids. They come out. If I showed you tapes from Tribute to Valor, and you see young people go, I swear this is the truth, Steve. I can't believe it. I know what I'm going to do now.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
I've been on Save the Children missions. When you see kids being impacted in a positive way and they're grateful for it and their parents are grateful for it, it's tugs at your heartstring like nothing else.
You know, Gary Sinise and I started something called
He's also
Snowball
done a lot of
Express.
work, yeah.
We started that together
With veterans.
with Jim Palmersheim.
But I
and
want you to
American
tell me
Airlines.
if you think this idea is simple and powerful enough. So I formed a partnership with the Thomas Alva
told me about this,
Edison
yeah.
Foundation for the 250th birthday, and we're going to start promoting this the end of the year. We want to ask children in America to answer 3 questions that will help them immeasurably in their life. Number 1, what does this country look like 250 years later after the signing of the Constitution? The good, the bad, and the ugly. Because we want them, the notion here is that you want children to know what are the existential threats, whether it's AI, environment, nuclear, but we also want them to see the good. We want kids to see what they have compared to what kids had 250, or adults had 250. We've come a long way. So it's the good, the bad, and the ugly. And you know from gratitude. Gratitude is the mother of all virtues. So that's the first question. The second one is, what are you going to do to help form the more perfect union? Okay? Because we want every child to know that it's going to be incumbent. You're a shareholder. I told my 15-year-old daughter about this conduct. She said, you want me to help you? You guys screwed this country up. Why should I help? I said, because you are an owner,
She also be told that
1/300
you
millionth.
guys made this country great.
Right, and that's part of the good, bad, and the ugly. There's a lot of good things.
Why are we going to go always to the ugly?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the good, bad, and the ugly part. What are you going to do to help form the more perfect union? And the third part is, what's your arete? What is your highest and best sense of self? Who are your heroes? What wisdom do they have to offer? And, what's your plan to realize? So those 3 questions, I pray we can get as many children as possible in America.
That's the key, is the future is the children.
Yeah.
You know, the greatest love of all, the Whitney Houston song. You read that lyric, going back to Clive Davis and reading lyrics. Sometimes just pull the lyric up someday on your show and read that lyric, and it tells you exactly what's important. And it's the children. They are our future.
Yeah.
They are the greatest love of all. They are the greatest miracle. They are the future. They are what's.
But we're gonna. But the problem is, we have a moral obligation to lift our children. Lincoln talked about this. Lifting the next generation on your shoulders is. If you leave here not doing everything you can in that regard, then shame on you. It's above my pay grade. These are gigantic issues, but I just know that, in theory, if we're fighting each other, it's just we're not going to do our children a service.
Well, unfortunately, here's the deal. The deal is, as long as we've set up this system, this 24-hour thing that we got going on, we will figure out how to fix it. We always do.
Yep. Human ingenuity, American ingenuity.
We always do.
That's right.
You know, it was funny. It was funny. I was thinking. I told you the other day. I remember clearly hearing President Kennedy talking about, ask not.
What you can do for ask not what your country can do for you, but what you could do for your country.
Well, that's very much what is now the other side mantra.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Small government. And yet I'm hearing about the war and this and that. No different then than I'm hearing now. It's not changed. You know why? Because the tools for election have not changed. The tools to win the election have not changed.
No.
If you think about it, every time you've watched the presidential election, it's been the same mantra, the same talk over and over again. It's the economy, stupid. We can't buy eggs. We can't buy this. We can't buy more oil. It's the same thing over and over again. They're not talking about integrity, courage, sacrifice, commitment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Those core values that really count. Those are the ones that really count.
Well, we got our work cut out for us. And listen, anybody wants to reach the pinnacle, and you know this, you have to fight for your highest, best sense of self. You got to peel yourself out of bed in the morning. We're going to have to fight for our highest, best sense of America and to lift children. So
we're sitting in a building right now called the American Dream.
Yep. And you know the point of the film about my dad and mom. My proposition is the American dream is still alive and well.
Yeah.
It's just a messy proposition. It's never from point A to point B, and you don't have adversity. You faced adversity. Sinatra faced it.
That's right.
Nobody comes out of this world unscathed. You're going to be humbled, and you got to fight.
Not only goes for us as people, I think, Steve. Correct me if you agree or disagree. But that is true for countries. The same fight we go through our daily lives to make ourselves better is the same thing on another proportion that countries go through.
Absolutely.
And humankind goes
That's
through.
right.
And it's just
the same dynamic.
What I do for me is I go back to prayer. You know, Steve, look at a rainbow, right? You can walk through it. You can't feel it. You can't touch it. You can't smell it. You can't taste it. But I dare you to tell me it's not there.
Right. Move in your heart in a big way. In your
That
head.
is faith.
Yeah.
Faith in that we cannot see. Faith in that we cannot touch or see or taste. That's a rainbow. That's God. So at the end
let
of
me
the
ask
storm,
you a question.
At the end of the storm, it'll always be a rainbow.
Would you venture to say it's the most important word in the English or the human language, faith?
It's like Billy Joel's song, Keep the Faith.
Yeah, I wrote that in my yearbook, by the way, Keep the Faith 80. But I brought this up with Bon Jovi when we interviewed him because they asked Warren Buffett and Bill Gates what they thought the most important word was, and they both said focus. And I asked Bon Jovi this question. He said, focus could also lead you to be mad, to madness. He said faith, like you did, and I happen to agree. It's so let's talk, we're talking about children. Advice from the mountaintop. I have a 13-year-old daughter. I have a 16-year-old daughter. And I just recently told them, and you tell me if you agree, if this is your advice. Life is very complicated. Kids have so much information. The iPhone is dragging them away from a good life. There's so many challenges in the world. So it's good to simplify. I said, think of life and a good life and a fulfilled life as a 1-2 punch.
Oh, yeah.
And it'll never get any more complicated this. On any day of your life, no matter whether you're on the floor or it comes down to mindset and a good to-do list. A good strategic to-do list. And obviously doing what you love so you never work a day in your life. Let's assume you find what you love. It comes down to mindset and to-do list. Do you agree with that? That it's a good way to look at things?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. What is your advice from the mountaintop for a child who is growing up in Union City right now and is challenged on one level or another?
Advice to them?
Yeah.
I don't think they'll listen to the advice I give to them.
Why?
I think advice becomes almost like, oh, here we go again to a kid.
Preaching.
I think that kids learn by what we do, not by what we
Actions.
say.
Yeah.
How I behave in my home, how I behave to friends, how I treat my family, that's how they learn. I don't think they learn from somebody saying, now this is what you should do.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I'm a big believer.
Your
This
behavior.
this place is about heroes and wisdom, and I've succeeded in life in large measure because I've read a lot of biographies, I've watched a lot of documentaries. I am drawn, you can tell, to what someone like a legend like you, how you did it. So I think for a lot of people, they are willing to be preached to, but I think
that's true. No, I have to take that back. I think that's true.
But there are a lot of people.
I think that's true. But when you say children,
Yeah. Well, if they're too
Children-
young, yeah.
as an example, when we bring the kids down to NASA, we don't preach to them about aeronautics or robotics.
Right.
We just let them experience it.
Right.
And it's up to them to either be inspired by it or not. Now, if I were to say to that same group of young people, now this is what I think you should be doing, is you should be thinking about flying planes and going to outer space. I don't know how much attention I get, but if I just play it out and they're sitting there and they're watching, much like they're watching this podcast, the power of their own intelligence takes over, their own dreams takes over, meshing together with agreeing or disagreeing with us, and how we behave as people.
Yeah.
See, what we are doing here, you and I love each other. You and I have a mutual respect, even when we disagree on things.
That's right.
You know that
Because I know
my
you're a
heart,
good person.
and that's what it comes down to.
Right.
Period.
Right,
It's
right.
just simply how we act as people, how we behave. What we say is not necessarily. You know, I just realized looking at you.
Yeah.
You know, you look a little bit like Sinatra.
I've heard that before. The eyes, the
This
blue
is the
eyes.
first time I've looked at you. There was a certain look that you just did. I said, "Man, there's a little Frank there, boy."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can't sing like him, I can assure
He
you.
lived in Hasbrook Heights like I did. you
I know.
Yeah.
From Hoboken originally. You know, children do.
Well, we've covered a lot today.
We really have. You know, you have to come back for like one or two more shows. 'Cause I could have you talk for an hour about Frank Sinatra and Johnny Carson, and we've got to do at least
share this
two
with
more
you.
shows.
There's a guy, you might know him. His name is Ken Abraham. He's he's been 19 New York Times bestseller. One of them is Beautiful Desolation, Buzz Aldrin's book. He wrote that. And if you remember Let's Roll, Beamer.
Yeah,
Beamer,
Todd Beamer.
He wrote that book with the
Yeah.
mom. So that's I think 13 New York Times bestseller. Well, we're writing a book right now, together. He's writing it with me.
Wow.
And the book that he wants to write is a storytelling book. And the book that he wants to do, because he feels there's a thirst for storytelling, and I think he's right. And what he wants to do is do exactly what you just said. Okay, Tony, tell me what your experience is with each one of these 9 presidents. Tell me what your experience has been with each of these 20 comedians that you worked with and opened for you, and 2 of them who you saved their careers. One of them is George Carlin, the other one is Rodney Dangerfield.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about your baseball experience, your baseball friends and managers. We're starting to find this incredible thirst, not only to hear the story, but for me to tell the story.
You know, I had a conference call today with the Lenox Hill, which was a Netflix hit show with their team and Northwell Health, and we're partnering to do a screening of Lucky Jack. probably January, February of next year, hopefully at the Beacon Theater, 3,000 people. And they said, for us, it comes down to storytelling. It's telling a story. And when you think about it, humans distinguish themselves from animals by telling stories.
Yeah.
That was a big part of our evolution. So that's what we do here at the Hall of Fame. And I got to get you to come back
I'd
and
come
tell
back
more.
with you. I've never enjoyed a time more on a podcast.
Yeah, you're the best.
I enjoy you.
Yeah.
There's no area where you are afraid to go. Your ultimate mission is to inform and to inspire and to make people think, and you give them the gift of that. Every time you have done something in this building, I see there's a lesson here, and there's a giving here, and I want you to know something, that as hoarse as I am,
Yeah.
I would go down to a whisper if it meant I could sit here and do your podcast anytime you
I
want.
love you. You
It
are
would
coming
be
back.
It would be an honor.
Brother.
And I hope I didn't keep you guys too long. We're sitting here waiting for a car to take them home so they can go
they'll
watch
be
a
fine.
baseball game and watch Aaron Judge hit a home run or something.
I'm going to start already. When you leave here, I'll be starting to think about, all right, when can I get this cat to come back, man? We got to do this again. I'm going to think of 50 subjects that I didn't cover.
And you know
'cause
what? You're a documentary guy.
Yeah.
If you're interested and that book becomes something, let's think about that.
Your book, and nothing would make me happier
Let's
to
think
work
about
with
that.
you on that project.
That'd be something.
Because it brings everybody. It brings presidents,
Let's-
Sinatra,
let's-
Elvis.
Let's think about that as a documentary,
We're going to do this.
okay?
An idea was born.
Hey,
right
look,
here
it just
and now.
happened on television, on a podcast.
Get me an attorney. I want a contract right now, ironclad. I don't
You know what?
about-
You want to see the contract? You want to see a real contract? Come here.
Yeah.
That's called a contract.
All right, I love you, pal. And this is amazing. One final thing, I'm so excited. Even though this podcast will not air, we're launching Legends of New Jersey in the fall. But I'm excited to see you on Thursday. 12,000 people. There's not many human beings that can get 12,000 people to come and watch them perform. And I can't wait. PNC Art Center. And I'm so sorry I missed Mohegan Sun, your finale.
And there was 12,000 there as
There were
well.
12,000 there. The energy that night.
And
was-
Lionel Richie came, and Adam Sandler came, and Priscilla
Sandler.
Presley came, and
Yeah.
my friends all showed up.
Legends of New Jersey. You truly are a legend from New Jersey.
No, I'm just Tony.
Take the compliment. Thank you, brother.
I'll accept it. Thank you, sir.
You got it, buddy.
God bless you.